So let's get it out up front. You're either a lover or a hater of the Adventure Kings rooftop tent. They've had quite a bit of negative press. They have had some bad experiences with some of the earlier models. Ed, who I'll show you his tent in a few minutes, has actually got the first model. He's been quite happy with his. I've got the Mark II, and so far, you know, I've spent a few weeks in it and I've been quite happy with it. I haven't tested it out in the real heavy rains or anything yet, but I have had it under the sprinklers and stuff, and it's held up pretty good. So I want to talk about a few of the things that made me decide to get this particular rooftop tent. So I was tossing up between the Bush Company and this one essentially. I wanted a hard shell tent. I looked at a couple of the other ones, and you know, they pop out at the side, and you know, they pop out at the back, and you know, they unfold. Essentially, I did not want anything with zips, and the main reason for that is because I do plan on doing a bit of our, you know, traveling through the outback, and you know, on the dirt tracks, when you get a lot of dirt and dust coming up, zips just don't tend to do well. So I wanted a unit that was fairly well sealed. I largely designed my camper trailer around this style tent as well. The shell essentially just creates a nice cover for the rooftop tent, so it gives me a nice working space, keeps dry if it's raining, that sort of stuff, keeps my firewood dry, and you know, it just really works well for me. Now, you know, tossing up between the Bush Company and this one, you know, the price was essentially half. You know, you're talking $5 for one, $2.5 for the other. So I really weighed it up as to what I needed in the tent, and really looking at it, well, I think I always put it down to it's $2.5K difference. So it's double the money. Am I getting double the value? No. So price first and foremost, obviously, we've got that one out of the way. You know, for me, looking at some of the other tents, bedding was quite a big issue for me. I wanted to make sure that my bedding was ready to go, set up whenever I go. Often I'm just traveling and I'm doing a day trips here and there, and I'm just setting up you know, on every particular day. Last thing I want to do is get to a site, you know, 6-7 o'clock at night and have to worry about setting up my bed, and then worry about that bedding getting all dusty and dirty in the back of the car, because I often have to have the window open because I've got the dog, and that sort of stuff as well. So I like that it's fully sealed and it's protected. Again, it comes down to fit. Like I said, this just fits really well on my camper trailer. You'll see in the pictures there that you know, it's just a nice size. It covers it all well, and it gives me, you know, good protection from the rain. So one of the other key reasons is setup time. You'll see in the video, it's basically a 30-second setup in this particular tent. It's just click, pop, done. You're pretty much ready to go, and that's without the awning. And the reason I say that is a lot of the setups that I've seen, the awning is actually attached and you have to use it, or it's a little bit fiddly to get it out of the way. This thing is always packed up without the awning, so if I'm on the move and I'm going, you know, on the go day in, day out, it's basically just click up and I'm ready to go to bed. It really is that simple. The structure of it, it's a good solid structure, you know, like I'm not dealing with fabrics, materials, potential leaking and that sort of stuff. I like the idea of having a good solid structure. Again, no zips, exposed zips, you know, so if you've got covers and bags over the top of them, essentially what's going to happen is those zips are going to get clogged up with time. I'm noticing on this camper trailer, you go out in the dust, you know, like the cap for the water meter, the locks, things like that, if you leave them on the trailer, the locks to the bins out the front, essentially they just get filled with dust, and they become an absolute pain. So I really didn't want any zips for that reason. You know, another reason was the multiple entry points. So this has got 3 entry points essentially. I often like to get in from the back when I'm just set up like this, but if I'm going to set up the awning and if I'm going to base myself for a couple of days, I like to set it up a little bit differently, and I often use the side entry. I can sleep at either end. I can have my head up one end or the other depending on the angle of the trailer. Make sure that my head's upright, and you know, obviously like the views from up there are fantastic. The quality for me has been pretty good. I know it gets a lot of flack, these tents, and you know, this is the Mark II. They've ironed out a lot of the problems. I haven't had a lot of those issues. Now I say, look, if you're going to go out and spend weeks, months, you know, a year in this unit, then potentially I'd probably splash out and buy, you know, the $5,000 tents. But the truth is, every tent has its problems, and I know someone with the Bush company tent, they've had issues. Mr. Buckaroony, I think recently, I'm not sure the name of his tent, but you know, leaked like buggery in one of his videos. I know Motops had problems, you know, the MW ones, the Motop ones have had problems with the leaking. Apparently the website there is managed by the company that actually manufactures them, or the Facebook page, I'm sorry, is managed by the company that manufactures them. So they've removed a lot of those comments. Now, quite frankly, who's going to spend $5,000 on a tent and then go onto Facebook and whinge about it? But it seems that the people that spend $2,500 on a tent are quite easy and openly complaining about it. That's why you get so much flack about it. Truth is, all tents have their problems, all have problems with condensation, leaking, etc. You know, it's a common problem amongst most of the tents. I'd rather spend $2,500 and maybe a couple of bucks more to you know, iron out some of those issues than spend $5,000 for a tent that's going to sit there, you know, 40 weeks in the year. Some of the other reasons: space. This is a massive tent inside. Look, I spend most of the time on my own camping, but you know, I wanted to make sure that there was enough space for the family. So if the wife comes out with me and my daughter, you know, potentially I'll put my wife and daughter up there, and I know they're going to be comfortable. You know, it's a comfortable unit. Now the mattress can be a little bit firm. I've got another video that gives you some tips on how to manage that. So essentially I've put a foam topper and a woolen underlay, and I sleep like an absolute king. It really makes a massive difference. So if you haven't done that, I definitely encourage you to do it. Truth is, a lot of the tents you get out there, they come out with firm mattresses, so you're almost always having to do something to freshen it up. The good thing about this one is there's plenty of room. And again, bedding, being able to put your bedding up there, you know, and having that space to put the bedding. There's a lot of tents out there, I'd hate to be doing that up every day on my own. I always say, get the best that you can afford. If you can afford a better tent, get a better tent. Don't jump on the websites and the Facebook pages and have a whinge about these ones. If you can afford a better one, get it. If you can't, these are fantastic. And the support that I've had from you know, 4Drive Super Centre has been pretty exceptional. Every time you know, and to be honest, I haven't actually gone back too often, but anytime I've rang them up for some information or to query a product or anything like that, they've been really good. And I've actually found a couple of people in there, in the stores in particular, that are probably a little bit more knowledgeable than a lot of the others, and they're really great to talk to if you want something, you know, a little bit more expertise. So, you know, look, everyone's got their own experience with 4Drive Super Centre and the Adventure Kings rooftop tent. That's my experience. You know, if you're out there thinking about what rooftop tent to get, completely up to you guys. You can spend double the money, not necessarily get double the value, or you can go for the Adventure Kings rooftop tent and live like a king as far as I'm concerned. So there you go, guys. If you're happy with this video, please give us a subscribe, like, do all that stuff. I've got new videos coming out every week. I'm going to do one on the awning, and we're going to do a few videos this weekend, you know, while we're out here camping. So stay tuned, there's some great stuff coming up. See you next week, guys.